Srimad Bhagavatam Lecture. All glories to the Assembled Devotees. All glories to the Assembled Devotees. All glories to the Assembled Devotees. Jai Shri Shri Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Welcome everybody to our Sunday morning Bhagavatam class. Ninth Canto, Chapter 16, Lord Parashuram destroys the ruling class. We just had his appearance day on Friday. You wrote it in the, right? In that schedule lesson. Yeah, Parashuram, Bhrigu. And today we have texts 30 and 31. Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Verse 30 and we will chant verse 31 together. Putra Purusharam kriptva sunasepam devaratam cha bhargavam ajigartam sutam aha jyeshta esha prakalpyatam. Vishwamitra accepted the son of Ajigartha, known as Shunakshepa, who was born in the Prithu dynasty and was also known as Devarata, as one of his own sons. Vishwamitra ordered his other sons to accept Shunakshepa as their eldest brother. 31. Yo vai Harishchandra Makhe,
Yo vai Harishchandra Makhe,
Vikrita Purusha Pasu,
Vikrita Purusha Pasu,
Stutva Devan Prajesadim,
Stutva Devan Prajesadim,
Mumuche Pasabandhanat,
Mumuche Pasabandhanat,
Yo vai Harishchandra Makhe,
Yo vai Harishchandra Makhe,
Vikrita Purusha Pasu,
Vikrita Purusha Pasu,
Stutva Devan Prajesadim,
Stutva Devan Prajesadim,
Mumuche Pasabandhanat,
Mumuche Pasabandhanat,
Yo vai Harishchandra Makhe,
Yo vai Harishchandra Makhe,
Vikrita Purusha Pasu,
Vikrita Purusha Pasu,
Stutva Devan Prajesadim,
Stutva Devan Prajesadim,
Mumuche Pasabandhanat,
Mumuche Pasabandhanat.
Yo vai Harishchandra Makhe,
Yo vai Harishchandra Makhe,
Vikrita Purusha Pasu,
Vikrita Purusha Pasu,
Stutva Devan Prajesadim,
Stutva Devan Prajesadim,
Mumuche Pasabandhanat,
Mumuche Pasabandhanat. Yo vai Harishchandra Makhe,
Yo vai Harishchandra Makhe,
Vikrita Purusha Pasu,
Vikrita Purusha Pasu,
Stutva Devan Prajesadim,
Stutva Devan Prajesadim,
Mumuche Pasabandhanat,
Mumuche Pasabandhanat.
Ladies.
Yo vai Harishchandra Makhe,
Yo vai Harishchandra Makhe,
Vikrita Purusha Pasu,
Vikrita Purusha Pasu,
Stutva Devam Prajesadim,
Stutva Devan Prajesadim,
Mumuche Pasabandhanat,
Mumuche Pasabandhanat.
Yo vai Harishchandra Makhe,
Yo vai Harishchandra Makhe,
Vikrita Purusha Pasu,
Vikrita Purusha Pasu,
Stutva Devam Prajesadim,
Stutva Devan Prajesadim,
Mumuche Pasabandhanat,
Mumuche Pasabandhanat.
Ya,
Ya,
he who,
Shunakshepa,
Shunakshepa, vai,
indeed,
Harishchandra Makhe,
Harishchandra Makhe,
in the sacrifice performed by King Harishchandra.
in the sacrifice performed by King Harishchandra,
Vikrita
Vikrita
was sold,
Purusha,
man, Pasu, sacrificial animal.
sacrificial animal.
Stutva, offering prayers. Devan, to the demigods. Raja Isha Adin, headed by Lord Brahma. Mumuche was released. Pasabandhanat, from being bound with ropes like an animal. Translation and purpose by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Shunakshepa's father sold Shunakshepa to be sacrificed as a man animal in the yagya of King Harishchandra. When Sunarsepa was brought into the sacrificial arena, he prayed to the demigods for release and was released by their mercy. Scandalous verse. Here's a description of Sunarsepa. When Harishchandra was to sacrifice his son Rohita, Rohita arranged to save his own life by purchasing Sunarsepa from Sunarsepa's father to be sacrificed in the yagya. Sunarsepa was sold to Maharaj Harishchandra because he was the middle son between the eldest and the youngest. It appears that the sacrifice of a man as an animal in yagya has been practiced for a very long time. Yovai Harishchandra Make Vikrita Purusha Pasu Stutva Devan Pratesa Dinnu Muche Pasabandanat. Sunarsepa's father sold Sunarsepa to be sacrificed as a man animal in the yagya of King Harishchandra. When Sunarsepa was brought into the sacrificial arena, he prayed to the demigods for release and was released by their mercy. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumiritamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Akandamandalakaram Yaptayena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha Echaya Guru Karan Charanavandan Jahoiti Vigdana Shabishtapuram Yasya Prasadadagirti Sadhya Sarvagatam Rajetsa Shri Chaitanya Devame Bhagavan Samprasidatu Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Bhagavatam leads us to Vrindavan. And just before the Vrindavan Pastimes are described in the 10th canto, after Krishna and Yadu dynasty are mentioned at the end of the 9th canto, we have the whole 9th canto dedicated to description of different kings and king dynasties. So here we have Vishwamitra's dynasty described and Harishchandra mentioned. Harishchandra is a very famous person in the Indian history. He is known as a very charitable person. However, here we have a story of something which to our Western ear sounds quite scandalous. We see that someone is being sold and is being bought to be sacrificed in a yagya. And we think it's very barbarian, to first of all to buy and sell people, and second of all to sacrifice people. And so we may think, how is this? Bhagavatam is speaking about this human sacrifice, and doesn't say much that this was so bad. And also even Prabhupada in his purport says that it was practiced for a long time. And it doesn't even say that it is bad to sacrifice man. So what do we think about this? So, well, of course, first of all, you don't have to say that this is bad to the people who know it. Right? Sometimes they say that you judge about the level of the Shastra by the level of the people to whom it is given. So, like there is some Shastra where it says, do not steal, do not lie, do not kill. So, apparently it's sometimes a problem. Sometimes people lie, steal, and kill. And another Shastra, another religion says, do not have sex with your relatives, like mother and daughter. Do not kill, and with your camel, and do not, do not something else. So this is prohibited. Apparently, there is a reason for that. Here, it seems that it's pretty clear to all of us that it's not really good to buy and sell people and to sacrifice people. At the same time, human sacrifice is known everywhere, in every culture, to a larger or smaller extent, and even with our Western sensitivities, here, being brought up in the Christian culture, we have to remember that until 18th century, Christianity was fully okay, it was completely endorsing slavery and buying and selling people. It was considered a completely religious thing for hundreds and hundreds of years. And also one of the most famous passages in the Bible is about human sacrifice. Abraham sacrificing his son Isaac. And of course, so he hears the voice of God, sacrifice Isaac to me. And so he takes his son, little small son, and he takes him to the mountain, doesn't ask any questions, takes him to the mountain, takes the knife, lifts his knife, and the son is scared, and only then an angel comes and says, stop, okay, that's enough. But also not much discussion about whether it's good or bad or just, being sacrificed. So, in fact, if we see these things being bought and sold and being sacrificed are continuing practically all the time. We can see that even nowadays it can be headlines in the newspapers and everybody thinks it's completely all right. Like you can read that, I heard it, I don't know their names. Ronaldinho, you know? How? Ronaldinho, okay, Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho has been sold by Manchester United to Barcelona or something. These football players, football players or some other sports people, basketball players or whatever, they're being bought and sold. And it's mentioned on the first page of the newspaper, and everybody thinks it's okay, isn't it? They get some money in the course of this, so you can say, okay, so they're getting also paid. All right. How about, actually there is one amazing story from Egypt. It's like a legend or something. It's about one of the pharaohs. Pharaohs were big rulers in Egypt, and they were ruling over many lands, and they were building these huge pyramids, which until today it's not quite clear what they were meant for. And it's sometimes said that they were using so many slaves to build these pyramids, or like they say that this Great Wall of China is the biggest cemetery known in the world, because people were dying there, so many slaves were dying, and then they were just thrown inside into that wall, and it was built like that. So there's a story about one of these pharaohs, how he was thinking how difficult it is to get all these slaves to work properly. So you have to have a lot of slaves, and then you have to have the supervisors who supervise the slaves so that they work, otherwise the slaves don't want to work, right? And then you have to have the supervisors for the supervisors, yeah? And then you have to have the army to keep everything under control, and it all takes so much energy, so much resources and gold and everything. So he was consulting with his ministers what to do. It's should we start another war and get some more of these slaves, but then again they sometimes rebel and they fight and they, what can we do? So one of his ministers, priests, he thought for a while and he said, I have a much better idea. This is an idea which will solve all your problems. So now you have to spend so much energy to force these slaves to work, and they don't work, and they work half-hearted, they don't work hard enough. They just, work so that nobody beats them as little as possible. But he says, I will give you an idea how to turn things around in such a way that these slaves will want to work, will try hard to work, and will look for, to do more and more work, and will search for your employing them to work. So he said, how is this possible? It seems completely unrealistic. Why would a slave want to work? You would like just to take rest. So he said, just see. So then he started the idea of money. And he said that don't just feed them, give them money. And then they can buy what you have to give them for free, this food and whatever, you sell to them. You have people who are selling these things to them. And then for work you give these slaves money. And then you will see what happens. So then, so he started giving money to these slaves, introduced the idea of money, and then the soup and whatever they were getting to work was no longer free, and they were paying for it. And then they discovered, so if they work a little harder, they get not 2 coins, they get 3 coins. And so they were starting, fighting to work more and harder. In the morning, instead of, the supervisor, these heavy armed guards going around, get up, go to work, and with it, they were getting up on their own, and they were rushing to work on those pyramids and whatever, and trying to work harder and work more so that they get, not 2 coins, but 3 coins, or 2.5 coins, and get not, 2 plates of soup, but maybe 3 plates of soup or whatever. So this was a funny story about how the money was started, and this is the idea nowadays, that nowadays people, if the master had to take care of the slave, and nowadays oftentimes people who are employed are very severely exploited, and even to get any work, you have to try so hard. Even to find a work is so hard. To find a work that's according to your nature. Even though this work oftentimes is hard in itself, it's quite exhausting. But even to get it is so hard. And I was recently in Slovenia, and one devotee was saying that in her factory, she's one of the engineers there, and she says the conditions are becoming more and more severe. So they are always trying to reduce the number of these engineers, and now they have to work for more and more people, and they save money on the workers, so they hire some temporary workers who don't know how to do things. So then the engineers again have to work and have to always supervise this work on the of the workers, otherwise they spoil the work. And she's totally exhausted, and then they are very they see what they are doing all the time. If they, God forbid, for 2-3 minutes they eat an apple or something, then immediately they count. So that goes into your lunch break, and she's totally wiped out after she finishes work. But then and then she says everybody is afraid of being unemployed, because it's hard work, but being unemployed can be even harder, because no retirement benefits, pension benefits, and so forth. So it sounded very hard. It sounded very, very, very difficult. So it's just another kind of slavery. It looks like you are free, but not always, and not so. And of course, we have debt. So many people in the world live in debt, huge debts. Of course, especially in America, there's this saying that people spend money that they don't have, credit cards, and they spend money which they don't have to buy things which they don't need to impress people whom they don't like. So this is the contemporary idea. And then you're in debt for 20, 30 years, just trying to pay off the interest. So therefore, this slavery is not an ancient idea. It exists in one form or another throughout our history. One of my friends, he watched, what's this movie? This very famous story in America, Gone with the Wind, I think. Yeah, Gone with the Wind. About I think the Civil War in America, and how slavery was abolished, and South and North were fighting. So he said after he saw his movie, he came to the conclusion that these black slaves were treated 10 times better than now employers treat their workers, their white workers nowadays. They were more kind to these slaves, and these slaves were more dedicated and more happy with that work. So, in other places of the Bhagavatam, we certainly have condemnation of these things. In the 5th canto, we have mention of the yagya, where usually some dacoits or some low-class people who are resorting to that kind of sacrifice, to the human sacrifice. Here it's a very rare exception that some noble person is supposed to perform this man sacrifice, which he didn't go through with, in fact. In the 5th canto we have the dacoits trying to sacrifice Jadabharat, and then Kali herself is unsatisfied with this, and she bursts out of the deity and chops off the heads of these dacoits themselves. She's so unhappy with what they are trying to do. So, and then also, or it's some demon, like in the 10th canto we have Jarasandha, who was collecting, he wanted to sacrifice 21,000 kings to Kalabhairava. 21,000 kings. And he already had 20,800. He just needed just a few more, just 200 more. So that's why he was waiting. So they wrote a letter to Krishna. Krishna, we are your devotees, please help us. save us. And so Krishna comes, and Jarasandha is killed, and they are all released. And what do they pray for? They say that actually everything was very fair. This Jarasandha is incarnation of our own karma. He is incarnation of our own karma. And please bless us that we don't forget you, that we remember you, and they become pure devotees. They completely surrender to Krishna. And Krishna sends them back, says, okay, go back to your kingdom, perform your duties as king, remembering me. So don't forget me, be detached, remember about your situation here, but perform your duties as kings. So Jarasandha again, so he wanted to sacrifice humans, so he was a rascal demon, that's clear. So usually it's condemned, it's not something that's recommended. At the same time, you can see this story itself here is the story of Shunakshepa. So the name itself, Shunakshepa, means dog's tail. Dog's tail, or something even worse. It's a very funny name, Shunakshepa. And just imagine, being born as a middle son to some barbarian in the forest, with a name and having a name Shunashepa, dog's tail, and then being sold to be killed in a sacrifice. So just imagine, to have such a destiny. Doesn't sound like a very good destiny. Dog's tail, to be killed in a sacrifice. However, even this person became Devarata. So with such unfortunate beginning, he was able to become part of Vishwamitra's family, Bhrigu's family, and Devarata. He was protected. He was taught by Vishwamitra how to pray, and by prayer, not even to the Supreme Lord, by the prayer to the demigods, he was Devarata. He was protected. He was saved from. And from that time he was known not as dog's tail of a dog, but as Devarata, protected by the demigods, by the Lord. So, in fact, it's quite an optimistic story. It shows how even in a very difficult condition a person can, his fate can be turned around. So, Jiva Goswami says in his Sandarbhas, in a commentary in the first canto, that the whole Bhagavatam is just pure rasa. He doesn't say, he says, it's incorrect to think that Bhagavatam contains rasa, that there is Bhagavatam and rasa is in the Bhagavatam. He says it's wrong. He says the proper understanding is that the whole Bhagavatam is rasalayam. It is just rasa. Every word in the Bhagavatam is rasa. And then he himself raises a doubt, how about these descriptions, like in the 9th canto of the kings, so many kings, and these stories, also some far-out stories, with some erotic moments and some just mundane moments about these kings. So about that we mentioned a little earlier, that the 9th canto is the last test before the 10th canto. So we are tested to see are we attracted by mundane opulence of these kings, and are we again attracted or agitated by the erotic descriptions that are here and there, like Pururava and Urvashi. Yeah, that's here. Some other things are here. Or are we ready to hear about Krishna's erotic pastimes with proper understanding? Will we understand his erotic pastimes without being agitated in a mundane way and without imposing our mundane conceptions on Krishna? So it's a sort of a test. At the same time, Jiva Goswami mentions that this is also rasa, because what we read here is that one king follows another king, follows another king, follows another king, and what is common to all of them, to all these kings? They all die. Right, they all die. So, and sometimes you have like 5 or 7 kings dying in the space of just one verse. You have a few kings just gone. And sometimes you have a description of there was a king who built a huge city called so-and-so. And then Upadesamrita Prabhu is asking, did you hear about this city? No, I didn't. Did you hear about it? No, I didn't hear. Did you hear about this king? No. So nobody has heard. So he said, he built a huge city, and now nobody even knows either the city or this king. So the rasa that's contained in these descriptions is, according to Sri Jiva Goswami, is Shantarasa through Vairagya. In other words, these descriptions are favorable for Vairagya, renunciation of the material world. Because who is considered to be the biggest enjoyer in this world? The king. One who has a lot of money, power, position, and then he can enjoy good karma, or good karma. But we see, okay, here's a whole canto of these people, and they all died. We don't even remember who they were, what they did. Some of them, they did some amazing things. They built a huge city. We don't even know neither what is the city and where it was, and nor do we know only the Bhagavatam very mercifully notes their name. So they are, because they were all devotees, so at least that is their names. But we see that not much is left. That's the story of their life, and that will be the story of our life. It gives us perspective. What will be left from our material endeavors and our material enjoyments after just a few years? And so as Burjan Prabhu is saying, after 100 years, will anybody remember that you existed? Or 200 years? Or 300 years? And will anybody remember that I existed? So where do I invest my energy? Where should I invest my energy? Into spiritual assets, building spiritual assets, finding the spiritual treasures, or into material treasures. Nobody says that we should stop taking care of the material things. We should certainly be balanced. But what are our priorities? If we dedicate our lives to spiritual treasure search, then it's independent of time. Ayurharati vaikum samudyanas tanchayana saudasyarte kranonita uttama shloka vartaya. With every rising and setting, the sun makes our life one day shorter, one day shorter, one day shorter, increases. Except for those who are dedicating their time to hearing about Uttama Shloka, about Lord Krishna in the Bhagavatam. So their life is not cut shorter. Because all the time you spend in Krishna Katha, in Krishna Seva, this is the time dedicated to eternity. It's associating with Krishna. It's never lost. So, some of you probably expect that we will have some review of nectar of instruction. It ties in with this very, very well. Upadesamrita teaches us about the search for the highest treasure, search for the prema of Radhakunda. So going to Radhakunda. And also the Bhagavatam leads us to that. The Bhagavatam leads us to Radha and Krishna, to their relationships. That's the heart of the Bhagavatam. And that's, some acharyas are saying that these 5 chapters describing pastimes of Krishna and the gopis are the Pancha Rasadhyaya. They are the 5 life airs, pranas of the Bhagavatam. They are what gives Bhagavatam life. But the Bhagavatam leads us to these chapters through 9 cantos, through the 9 cantos, gradually elevating us. So in the same way, Rupa Goswami has condensed the whole path into, you can say, 8 verses. The last 3 verses are describing the perfection, and the last 3 verses describe the hierarchy of the places on the spiritual platform. Vaikunda janito varamadu puri tatrapi rasotsavad vrindaranyam udarapani ramanat tatrapi govardhanaham radha kundamihapi gokulapate premamrita plavanat kuryadhyasya virajato kiritate sivam vivekhinaka. Describing that Mathurapuri is higher than Vaikuntha because it's connected with Krishna's birth pastimes, and then Vrindavan is higher because there is Rasa Lila performed, and Vrindavan Rasa Lila is the most, how should we, nowadays we would say democratic. Yeah? All the gopis are invited. So this is the most open Rasa Lila, so all the gopis are invited. But then Govardhan is higher, Krishna lifted him. Govardhan is the deity of the gopis. When they are separated from Krishna, they go and pray to Giriraj Govardhan. And even higher is Radhakund because it's filled with prema of Radharani, no different from Radharani. And one who bathes in Radhakund even once can achieve prema like that of Srimati Radharani, we mentioned in the last verse. And of course, you also know that if you bathe in Shyamakund, then you become dear to Radharani. It is an even more amazing blessing for us. So these are the places. The second last verse, Karnidya Parito Hare Priyataya Vyaktimya Gyanas, it describes the hierarchy of practitioners. So the whole yoga ladder is compressed in one, like the whole 6 chapters of the Gita are compressed in one shlok, and even more. So we have Karma Yoga, then Jnana Yoga, then mixed Bhakti Yoga, then pure Bhakti Yoga, and then Narada Muni, and then we have the gopis, and among the gopis Radharani is the highest. But the path to that highest treasure, to that complete perfection, begins not in the office of Turkish Airlines or whatever. The path to get to that place begins in the heart. So 2 verses describe the obstacles we need to overcome to enter this path. First, 6 urges, 6 strong currents in our heart which can carry us away. So we have words, so what we talk and speak about and hear about, Vachovega. Then 2 urges of the mind, Manasa, Krodavega, a desire for something pleasant according to our plans, and anger to something that's not according to our plans. So Aviroda Priti, Aviroda Yukta Kroda, as Bhaktisiddhantaji is quoted in the purport. We love when something goes according to our plans, and we are angry if something is opposing our plans. So these are 2 urges of our mind. And then 3 urges of the body. These are also to be controlled or tolerated. Tongue, belly, and genitals. So one who is able to control these is called a Goswami. And Srila Prabhupada begins by saying that one's advancement in Krishna consciousness is dependent upon one's attitude. Yes? And then Prabhupada speaks about being a Goswami. And Goswami is one who controls the senses and the mind. So what is an attitude? An attitude is disposition of the mind. And then he speaks about the Goswami who can control the mind. So in other words, attitude again is not something that just falls from the sky. It's where we keep our mind. It's the, we can say, a posture of the mind. Like we can have a posture of the body. You know? So like all of you are now sitting in a very good posture for hearing. Now if you, for example, were lying, you know, it would be not such a conducive posture for hearing. I know one devotee who was always saying that for hearing, it's very good if you keep your back very straight. And he says for the first 1 or 2 months it's a little painful, but it's more difficult to fall asleep. So oh, you are very trained, your backs are very straight. But there is also a posture of the mind. You know, in the body can have a good posture, but what's the posture of my mind? And so there are 6 negative things that are destructive, and there are 6 positive things that are very helpful for devotional service. And so these positive things, it is said that one can very quickly achieve bhava, or ecstasy in devotional service, by choosing. So whenever it is negative, you get some negative attitude in the mind. So you just switch it. Try to fix your mind on a positive attitude. And as we discussed, at least for 15 seconds, keep it in that positive attitude, and then you can see what happens in the mind. So 6 positive attitudes, 3 attitudes and 3 actions. Utsahan Nishayan Dharya, enthusiasm, endeavor with intelligence. Yeah? It means we know the goal, and we discuss some other keys for that. Gratitude and knowledge of the position, and clear vision, connecting to our desires and dreams, and then we'll have this energy, enthusiasm. It's on nishaya. Nishaya is firm conviction, being completely convinced about the goal of life and the power of bhakti. So two things are helpful. One thing is study of the Shastra, makes things clear, and then practicing, applying. Then we are, by applying, we see that it works. And dhairya, patience. Again, it's something very interesting. As soon as you agree, a little secret revealed by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhakti Aloka, as soon as you agree to be patient, Krishna is ready to give you his mercy. In other words, as soon as I allow Krishna to take his time, as soon as I agree, okay, Krishna, however much you want to take, I will wait. I will wait. So no matter what, maybe you will give me your mercy after 10,000 lifetimes. It's your sweet will. I'll just serve. So as soon as that means surrender. We don't demand from Krishna. We surrender. As soon as we surrender, then Krishna says, okay, so now have it now, have it today. You can give now. So patience. This is a very good attitude. It's a surrendered attitude. All these attitudes are attitudes of surrender. And three actions, tatat karma pravartana, being engaged in devotional service. Sangatyaga, giving up the mundane association, attachment to mundane association, and following the path shown by the previous acharyas, sadhus, living the pure lifestyle. And six negative attitudes are quite famous: overeating or over-collecting. You may have experienced that sometimes you may be inspired, you have an enthusiasm and inspiration, and then you eat a real lot. And then you can think about little else except the sleeping bag or the bed. You have this experience sometimes? Of course, in some rare occasions, the prasadam may be so amazing that even after overeating, all you can think of is chanting and dancing. Sometimes also like that happens, isn't it? Sometimes prasadam is so amazing, so some super powerful shakti in it. But still, it's if you're tired, it may be dangerous to overeat. It brings the consciousness down. And then mundane endeavor, over-endeavoring. So we are also trying to bring ourselves in sacrifice, bring our material resources in as a sacrifice, as an offer to the Lord, but we try to make this offer last the whole lifetime. We don't try to kill the body too quick. We want to have it last till the time we are achieving perfection in devotional service. So we avoid over-endeavor, and we avoid prajalpa, which again brings the consciousness down. We avoid association with mundane people and mundane subjects, and greed that it engenders, mundane desires or desires for mystic powers, loathing. And the manifestation of all of these in devotional service is niyamagraha. When we either reject, so first of all we start acting formally. We perform devotional service out as a formality, just because I have to. We finish the rounds, instead of chanting the rounds. And then after some time of such formal following bhakti, we see no point in following at all. If it's formal, then what's the point? Anyway, I don't have devotion. And then we give up these processes of bhakti at all. So the solution is enthusiasm, having a clear vision of the goal always, and connecting it to our heart's desires. And then we can perform devotional service with taste and enthusiasm. It will not be a niyamagraha, just external shell. That's Chaitanya Maharaj's example. When you have these capsules, and then you have medicine inside, but Actually, my mother has asked me, what was it? Some mineral, yeah, zinc. Yeah, I was eating, and there are capsules, but these capsules are usually from gelatin. So, I'm opening and, just taking the powder. But my mother said that she has some stomach problems, so she said, if you have these caps, then can you keep them? And I will take my medicine and put my medicine inside it. I will eat in those capsules. But so now I have a whole bottle of these empty caps for my mother. But if you just take this empty capsule, it looks like a normal capsule, but if you eat it, there will be no effect. So sometimes we take just the external form of bhakti. And the effect is not what we expect. So that's a comparison that Chaitanya Maharaj is giving about formal following. And then the heart of the nectar of instruction. We have 3 verses describing relationship between devotees. 6 loving exchanges, which are very simple and can be easily practiced, but they become loving exchanges. They create loving relationship between devotees. So, very easy. Give and take, speak and hear, and feed and eat. Prasad. Very, very simple. But it bonds the hearts, makes the hearts connected, brings warmth, all 6. And we respect all devotees, those who are free from desire to criticize and those who know the science and who are fully engaged in pure devotional service. We try to serve and get their association as much as possible. Those who are worshipping the Lord and are initiated into the path, so they know the Sambandha, we offer our obeisances. But even those who are just chanting at least once, they just Krishneti yasya giri tam manasadriya, even they just said Hare Krishna, already we respect them. We already respect them. And Swiss people in Switzerland are very, very pious and very, I think Swiss Harinams are the best. Yeah, because it's such an amazing mood. People, so many people, either when we are sitting doing bhajan at the lake or when we are walking, yesterday we were in Basel, so many people are stopping and listening with genuine interest. They listen. And then you give them the invitation, they're eagerly taking and start studying. What is there? And many are very sympathetic to what they see and hear. So, and many of them, they will say, like yesterday, one of these 2 guys, Satya Prakash said that they were a little bit, they had beer in their hands, and he said they were smoking ganja there or something near the river. But when they saw us, they jumped out and they started dancing and singing Hare Krishna. So okay, beer and ganja, maybe that's not exactly our process. But they were trying to dance and sing. So that's to be appreciated. They appreciate devotional service, and we appreciate that. In fact, we are supposed to respect every human, because every human has a potential to become a devotee and understand God. They have this very wonderful capacity. What to speak? Of course, we are supposed to respect even ants, but at least humans. So, and what to say about devotees? At least those who speak Hare Krishna, at least those who actually think they are devotees and try to practice. Oh, it's so respectable. It's so amazing. I told you a couple of stories, I think, about. I remember about some esoteric people and psychic people, and there is one more story about some devotees again practicing for just a few months, and they came to one station, so that they were changing trains or something, and then it so happened that in that city there was some symposium, some congress of these esoteric people who read auras and do all these kind of things. And so they were in the train station, and these people, when the devotees were just somewhere in the corner, two devotees somewhere in the corner with the books and chanting, and then these people came, and like 5 or 10 of them found the devotees, and they started offering respects to devotees. And devotees were startled, who are these, some people, just in the train station, from the place. And they were dressed in the karmi dress, in pants, and no signs of it. Well, japa was there, nothing special. And so they were startled, and then these people said, "Oh, you are great beings. Please be kind to us." As soon as we entered the train station, we saw that there is an amazing vibration here. Such a vibration. All station was permeated by this power of pure vibration. And then we saw light in one corner. And then we understood, oh, there are these saintly people there. And there are 2 bhaktas there. So they go, oh, our respects to you. Oh, how have you attained this? At another time, the devotee once was distributing books, and he pressed on the doorbell, and the guy opened the door and he said, "Oh, you have come! Thank you! Please, come in, come in! Oh, you brought the books?" "Yeah, how do you know?" He said, "Oh, my life is perfect, thank you, please come in, come in." And it turns out that he studied the Bible for a long time, and he wanted to go deeper. So he started praying to the Lord, "Oh Lord, please, can you please send me more knowledge? Can you please give me deeper knowledge, please?" And then he had a dream, and he saw 2 angels. 2 angels came to him, and they said, "Today we will come and bring you the books and the deeper knowledge." And then he saw the devotees and he said, "You were these angels, I recognized you. You brought, where are the books? Oh, thank you, finally." Yeah, so we should not forget. Should not forget. We are living among the angels. All the devotees are angels and great saints. Even if they just started, even if maybe some habits are not quite right yet, but we respect, at least in the mind. There is no category we can disrespect. So that's the external dealings, but then Rupa Goswami takes it even higher to the internal vision, how we internally see the devotees, that we don't see the devotees according to their bodies, or even according to their subtle bodies. Maybe there is some wrong, maybe some leftover habit or trait of character that's not so good. But we don't look at that. We see that he's serving Krishna. He's a devotee. That's what's actually eternal. That's the real thing. He agrees to sacrifice part of himself to the Lord. In fact, we are all on the path of sacrificing our whole being. Sarva Atma Snapanam. Sarva Atma, our whole being, we try to immerse, bathe in the holy name and give it to the Lord. Atma Nivedanam. That's our path. So all people here, they're on this path. So that's very respectful. Just like Ganga, in the rainy season, in July, or Yamuna, so many things are flowing in the Ganga or Yamuna, and bubbles and dirt, but still, you take bath, you feel, wow, you feel purified. So in the same way, the devotee may have some improper traits or some acts that may be not so good, but he's a devotee. They're a devotee. So we see that in everybody. And once we are able to cross this hurdle, this, you gave the comparison of the mountain pass, the Birks pass, and then Rupa Goswami describes the holy name, and he describes how this, what may seem bitter to a person afflicted by the jaundice of avidya. The sweet names name and katha may seem not so sweet, but once we have crossed the first 6 verses, then in the 7th verse we can get access by daily practice. So he mentions several points there. One is that you chant daily, and you chant adarat with respect. So that's respect for the name, and of course respect for devotee. So that means without offenses. Carefully, Prabhupada translates adarat. But adarat literally means with respect. So you chant respecting the name. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. It's when we respect, then of course there is no offense, right? Offense is an absence of respect. And then it turns into nectar. And then the 8th verse is the description of Raganuga Bhakti. The essence when we engage all our time in remembering Krishna and speaking about Krishna, Krishna Shravanam Kirtanam with taste, with tasting with the tongue and the mind. We join our tongue and the mind in tasting that. So some taste is appearing, and we always live in Braj or in Jagannath Puri, in the holy place, and with devotees, and follow a specific devotee of Krishna in Vrindavan. So that's, we discussed, that's a Raganuga Bhakti, when we already know our relationships. So until we are purified, we do not try to fix, okay, I'm in that rasa or I'm in this rasa, because we can do this out of pride. We can do this under some mistaken feeling to impress others. So we follow, we read about all the Leelas of Krishna, about all the devotees of Vrindavan, and we cultivate the previous verses to remove anarthas, and then one Leela will become more attractive, and then one rasa will become more attractive to our heart, will capture our heart. So from that point to become very powerful. And then we will enter these last 3 verses leading to Radha Kunda and leading to the perfection of our life, the highest treasure of Krishna in Vrindavan. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. We are all on the wonderful path. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Any questions, comments, objections? Yes?
Yeah, but the human sacrifices, I understood that in the Vedic times they were sacrificing an animal to give him a new body, no?
Yeah. Okay, that's a good point. Yeah, so in those sacrifices, that was not just killing; it was giving them a new and better life. Yeah.
So the humans too.
The humans, no, of course. If an animal, then what to speak about a human? Yeah, that's a good point. The same way we are. That's what we are doing. We are sacrificing our life. Yeah? We are sacrificing our body, and it's actually even more difficult to die for Krishna. May take, 1 second, but to live for Krishna, you have to re-surrender and re-sacrifice your life for so many years. So that's what we are doing. We are sacrificing. We're trying to sacrifice all the things to Krishna. And what do we get in return? If you sacrifice, if I sacrifice this bag of bones and some other unmentionable things, what do I get in return? If I sacrifice to Krishna this body, blood. What kind of I mean, if I dedicate my life to devotional service, spiritual problem. Thank you. Even better than that. You get Krishna. Krishna Krishna gives himself to us. And that's, you know, that's a lot. That's everything. What can I give to him? How much do I have? And how much can he give to me? There's some verse, Jaipurya Vihari is saying, "Oh my Lord, I have nothing to offer to you. Because you are the Lord of Lakshmi and of all the worlds. So you have everything. All the riches are yours. But I have something that maybe you can use. Sometimes you go and try to steal butter and from your neighbors. And for that, you need darkness. So my Lord, I have been collecting darkness in my heart for millions of lifetimes. Please take it all and make use. I'm offering this to you. I have a lot of darkness in my heart. Please take it." And Krishna is so kind, he can take it and give himself to his devotee. In Jiva Goswami quotes Skanda Purana, Shiva Purana, saying that if you look at Krishna, Krishna looks at you. If you take shelter in Krishna, Krishna takes shelter in you. And if you worship Krishna, Krishna worships you. And we have another quote from, please correct me, I don't remember exactly. Is it Padma Purana? I think Padma Purana. It was quoted by Madhavananda, that in his Krishna Kadamrita. If one, Krishna says, if anybody chants my name, whoever chants my name, I always keep his name in my heart. Whoever chants the name of Krishna, I keep his name in my heart. So Alex says, Hare Krishna, and Krishna says, Alex. Okay. Yeah. Juliana, she was singing so nicely. I was surprised we have such a, you were singing like some famous singer.
Opera singer.
Better than opera singer. Hare Krishna. And so Krishna remembers, oh, Juliana, she's singing my name. She remembers. Can you imagine Krishna remembers our names when we just speak his names? Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki